Hi guys. This is I don't know whether you would call it a cardigan or a jacket. This is suede and it's got a zipper, so I guess technically it's a jacket, but it's knitted, it's ribbed. The sleeves and the back are ribbed, and then the front is suede. It's very nice. So the problem with it is that it's too long in the sleeves. And so what I'm going to do, I always talk about putting 2 pins in, one just fell out. So that's why you always put 2 pins in for the position that you want to take it up, so that you don't lose that. So it's got to go up a fair amount. Now the problem with this is if you just cut that, overlock it and stitch it, it tends to kind of spray out like that a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten it, and I'm going to use this stretch lace on the inside. I do believe that you need to use a stretch rather than plain, because you've still got to keep that, you know, stretchiness within it. But also what I want to do is I'm going to sew that on and kind of, you know, stretch it as I sew, so that it pulls this in a little bit so that it doesn't spray out. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see the double pins there. You know I work in imperial, so for me it's 3 5/8, but for you metric guys it's around 9 centimeters. So I'm just going to write that on my docket. Now I can take the pins out, I don't have to worry about them anymore. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is just check and make sure that the sleeves are the same length. It's a bit hard with a knit, you can pull it wherever you like, but it looks like they're the same, so that's alright. Turn it round. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark that. So I'm going to go up 3 5/8, and I think initially I'm going to leave the amount of this in the short term. I'm just not sure if I want to cut it up there or not, so I'd rather err on caution, just because I'm kind of winging this as I go. I'm going to stitch just below this before I do any cutting, and the reason for that is that this is a knit, and if for some reason it gets grabbed, it can ladder. By stitching it, I'm going to stop that from laddering. It won't ladder past that point. Okay, so a couple of things when you're sewing for you new people. Always use a thread colour the same as the garment, in this case it's black. I've changed my needle to what's called a stretch 7511, which got a packet of them here somewhere I can show you. There we go. Okay, so there's a stretch 7511. Now I use the brand called Schmidt's. I'm not going to comment about other brands, but I just find that this is a very good quality brand. So whenever you're sewing, no matter what it is, your needles should be changed to reflect the fabric or knit that you're sewing with. Pop that around there like that. And now I'm just going to bring this in. Now I'm going to pull these together as I stitch. So I hope that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm kind of bringing that round, because this is pulled over. And the stitch length I've got it on is actually 3, which is quite wide. I wouldn't use a small stitch on something like this because you don't want it to spray out again, and a small stitch can actually do that. So lower the needle, bring it around, push it all together. It'll still spray out a little bit. Push it together. Okay, now I have to decide if I'm going to leave it all the way down there, and I don't think I will, because I think it'll be too thick, because I'm going to add that to there, and that'll be under like that, and it just feels too thick. So I'm going to cut this, and then I'm going to overlock it. There's a baby bird out on my fence making that noise. I have a bird bath and they all come and use it. Alright, now I really have to overlock that. I know it's going to spray it out and I don't particularly want to, but I feel like I have to. So I'm going to overlock the edge. You don't need to see that because it's just straight overlocking. You can see there I've overlocked it, but what I did do is I made the differential feed dial up to the maximum of 2, because where you would normally have your overlocking close together, this is actually quite far apart, and the reason I did that again is so that it doesn't spray it out like that. Okay, so it's not forcing it to spray. The next step is just to add this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a circle first. I want to bring it into about there, so by the time I put the seam allowance on, so you can see it's just a little bit shorter. Cut 2. Alright, so I'm just going to join them. So I've done that, and now what I'm going to do is just lay that over there like that and pin it into place. So I'm going to stitch it over the top of that stitch line that I had. Put it on there. Whenever you're doing something like this, just do the one side and then come across to the other. That's halfway. That's halfway. Now I can bring those two pins together like that. Pin it into place. Now bring it around to there. And this is why you use a stretch. So I can stretch it like that. Stretch it like that. And see how that's brought that in? I mean, if you put that on, for example, you know, that's the width that you want to have it. You don't want to have it way out here. So we'll do the same with the other one. Now find your halfway point. Halfway. Halfway. And then just bring those two together. And then just give those a stretch. And I can see my chalk mark there is just a bit higher, so I've got to come up a little bit. Okay. So when you're stretching a knit like this is why it's really important to stitch it. I'm just going to stitch that on and nearly finished. Yeah, this is the joy of having a machine with an arm, because you can bring it over like that. Do like you did before, bring it round. Where are my pins came out? Now that's going to get turned back and stitched. I'm going to have to turn it inside out to do it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is stitch around the bottom. Leave about, you know, just so that the lace is on the inside. Because you don't want the lace rolling to the outside. You can see I've just got a little bit of the knit showing. And what this is going to do, it's going to lock that seam allowance in on the jumper. Like that, and keeping in mind that this is a jacket, and now I guess the decision is, do I leave that like that or do I turn it under? Like I said, I'm doing this on the fly. I think I'm going to turn it under. The thing with this is that then she can fold her sleeve back and show the lace. So even though when I'm sewing the rib is pulled apart, the lace, stretch lace, brings it back in again. So I reckon that's pretty good. And I might just do one in the middle. So there you have it on that side, and if I bring it through to the other side, you can see that when you put it on, it's like a jacket sleeve now. If you press that, it'll come in a little bit. So you can see there that it looks like a jacket sleeve. Now that's the original, and that's that now. It's about maybe ½ an inch more, but then that's because when you come up here it gets wider. So, you know, now it's a nice jacket sleeve. Actually it sits like about there. So using lace is a good, stretch lace is a good way to shorten sleeves on cardigans.